Welcome to True Crime Threads, where we unravel the chilling stories behind shocking betrayals and dark obsessions. Join us as we explore a tale of love, deception, and the tragic consequences of a sister's seduction that ended in death. The town of Crestwood was small, where everyone knew each other and scandal was rare. The Turner family especially had a reputation for being respectable. Lily Turner was the epitome of kindness and stability, known for her gentle smile and the warmth she brought into every room. She was married to Sam, a man as steady and dependable as she was, and they seemed perfect together. They had recently celebrated their 5th anniversary, and their marriage appeared to be unbreakable. To their friends and neighbors, they were an ideal couple, deeply in love and well-matched in every way. But Lily's world would soon change, and Crestwood would become the setting of a tragedy no one saw coming. Emma Turner, Lily's younger sister, was nothing like her. While Lily was soft-spoken and reserved, Emma was a firecracker, unpredictable and free-spirited. She had spent years traveling, collecting adventures from all over the world, and when she moved back to Crestwood, she brought with her an energy that was magnetic. The locals were drawn to her, fascinated by her stories and captivated by her beauty. Lily, being a loving sister, welcomed Emma with open arms and insisted she stay with them while she settled in. What felt like a natural gesture of hospitality was the beginning of a chain of events that would unravel everything Lily held dear. Sam, at first, paid little attention to Emma beyond the polite warmth a brother-in-law should show. But Emma had a charm that was hard to ignore. She was confident and flirtatious, traits that were foreign to Lily's quiet, composed nature. Sam, who had grown accustomed to stability and routine, found himself inexplicably drawn to Emma's unpredictability. The way she moved, spoke, and looked at him ignited something within him that he hadn't felt in years. It started innocently enough, with glances that lasted a little too long, or shared moments where silence felt like it held a secret only they understood. Emma sensed Sam's interest and began to play with it, a game she couldn't resist. She made herself more visible to him, spending time around the house in ways that ensured she'd catch his eye. Whether it was lounging in the backyard when Sam was doing yard work, or laughing a bit too loudly when he was nearby, Emma knew how to draw him in. She enjoyed the thrill, the power of seducing someone so closely connected to her own life. Her flirtation was no accident. It was a test of her influence over him, a dangerous game she was willing to play without regard for the consequences. As the days passed, the tension between them grew. Sam found himself making excuses to spend time with Emma, even if it was just for a few moments. Their connection developed into a secret that neither could resist. Emma's allure became an obsession for Sam, a tantalizing escape from his predictable life. What started as fleeting attraction turned into something far darker, a bond built on deception and desire. All the while, Lily was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing within her own home, trusting her sister and husband without question. Their affair was hidden in shadows, an intoxicating secret shared only between them. But secrets have a way of revealing themselves, and in Crestwood, nothing stayed hidden for long. Emma's flirtations had awakened something in Sam, something restless and insatiable, and the affair grew into a spark that would ultimately consume them all. The life that Lily thought was built on trust would soon crumble, and a scandal that seemed unthinkable in their quiet town was about to unfold. As the secret affair deepened, Sam's obsession with Emma grew dangerously intense. What had begun as a thrilling escape from his predictable life with Lily became an addiction he couldn't shake. Sam felt as though he had unlocked a new, hidden part of himself, a man who desired freedom, excitement, and passion. Emma's beauty and charisma filled his thoughts, making him lose focus at work, ignore his friends, and withdraw from his wife. He craved Emma's presence, hanging on to every word she said, every glance she gave. The thrill of being with her consumed him, and soon he wanted nothing less than to be with her all the time. But for Emma, the affair was little more than a game, a fleeting thrill she could walk away from whenever she pleased. She enjoyed the feeling of control, the satisfaction of knowing she could make a loyal husband stray, but she never intended for it to be permanent. The novelty was beginning to wear off, and Sam's intense devotion started to feel more like a burden than a thrill. She found herself tiring of his constant attention, annoyed by his neediness, and uncomfortable with how dependent he'd become on their time together. Sensing Emma's change in attitude, Sam grew increasingly desperate. He had believed that they shared the same feelings, that Emma was as invested in their secret relationship as he was. As he saw her pulling away, he became terrified of losing her. The thought of going back to the quiet, predictable life he once shared with Lily filled him with dread. He had tasted the excitement Emma brought into his life, and he couldn't imagine letting it go. His obsession began to spiral into something darker, a possessive need to have Emma all to himself, no matter the cost. Meanwhile, Lily felt the distance growing between her and Sam. She couldn't ignore the small signs, the way he seemed distracted, his growing irritability, the way he avoided her questions about work or seemed to disappear without explanation. Deep down, a gnawing feeling of suspicion began to take root, though she tried to push it aside, convincing herself it was just a phase or a result of work stress. But her instincts kept tugging at her, warning her that something was wrong. As Sam became more unstable, Emma's discomfort grew. She realized that her once charming brother-in-law had become clingy and almost possessive. She saw flashes of anger in him that made her uneasy, moments when his desperation for her affection crossed into something darker. When she suggested they slow down, Sam's reaction startled her. He became defensive, accusing her of leading him on and threatening to tell everyone about their relationship if she left him. Emma began to feel trapped, like she was cornered by the very man she had manipulated for her own amusement. For Sam, the thought of losing Emma was unbearable, and his paranoia began to warp his mind. He convinced himself that she was only pulling away because of his own mistakes, vowing to do whatever it took to keep her. But for Emma, the thrill of the affair had soured into something ugly. What once seemed like a harmless game now felt like a cage, with Sam's obsession tightening around her like a trap. She was ready to move on, but she was about to discover just how hard it would be to escape Sam's relentless fixation. As their twisted affair grew darker, the foundation of their lives began to crack under the weight of jealousy, desperation, and fear, drawing them both into a spiral from which neither could easily escape. As Lily's suspicions deepened, she couldn't ignore the subtle shifts in Sam's behavior any longer. The man she'd known for years now seemed distant, preoccupied, and evasive. Conversations felt strained, and she sensed he was holding something back. Nights once spent together in comfortable silence now felt cold and detached, with Sam lost in his thoughts and Lily left wondering what had changed. Lily tried to rationalize these signs, blaming stress, but her unease grew with each passing day. Seeking clarity, she confided in her friend, who encouraged her to trust her instincts and confront him. Though hesitant, Lily knew she could no longer turn a blind eye to what was happening in her own home. Determined to get answers, Lily searched for anything that might confirm her suspicions. As she sifted through drawers and boxes in their bedroom, her heart raced. She didn't want to believe that her marriage was under threat, that Sam could be unfaithful, but her instincts left her no peace. And then, buried in a drawer beneath stacks of papers, she found the damning evidence, a folded note. As she opened it, her hands trembled, eyes scanning the lines of a love letter written in Emma's handwriting. It left little to the imagination, recounting intimate moments and professions of love. The reality of betrayal struck her like a physical blow, and she felt her world shatter. Lily's grief quickly turned to rage as she realized the depth of the deceit. Her own sister had seduced her husband, and Sam had been willing to jeopardize their marriage for Emma's fleeting affection. That night, Lily confronted Sam, demanding he tell her the truth about his affair with Emma. Sam stammered, caught off guard and struggling to find words, but his guilt was written on his face. The web of lies unraveled, and he admitted to the affair, but his remorse came too late. The depth of his betrayal left Lily heartbroken, and she felt as if her whole life had been a cruel lie. After confronting Sam, Lily went to Emma. Her anger was raw, filled with years of trust and love now destroyed. She demanded answers, but Emma met her fury with an indifference that cut deeper than any words. To Emma, the affair was no crime, only an indulgence, and she expressed no regret for the pain she had caused. Her cold reaction left Lily devastated. It was as if Emma had erased their bond entirely, as if their years as sisters meant nothing to her. Faced with the full weight of her sister's betrayal, Lily felt trapped between grief and fury. She tried to make sense of how Emma could betray her so effortlessly, and how Sam could have fallen for her sister's charms so easily. Lily's heartbreak fueled her determination to sever ties, leaving her sister and husband to face the consequences of their actions. Sam and Emma, once hidden by the secrecy of their affair, now found themselves exposed, their bond fragile and weakened by guilt and anger. They fled, abandoning Crestwood and leaving Lily to pick up the pieces of her shattered life alone. But freedom brought little peace for Sam and Emma. The thrill that once ignited their affair had dulled, replaced by the bitter reality of a life built on betrayal. Lily's confrontation left Sam feeling haunted by guilt, and Emma's allure had faded. Their bond had been nothing more than a fleeting escape, and without the secrecy of their affair, they found themselves face to face with the consequences of their actions. Crestwood, the town that once viewed them as a loving family, now knew them as a scandalous tale of betrayal, and Lily's absence loomed over them both. The affair's initial thrill turned to bitterness, and Sam and Emma found themselves caught in a web of resentment, regret, and isolation. With her marriage and family torn apart, Lily struggled to pick up the pieces of her life in the aftermath of betrayal. Every memory of Sam and Emma felt like a fresh wound, and their absence left her feeling hollow and abandoned. She withdrew from the world, spending her days in isolation, haunted by images of the life she had once cherished. Neighbors whispered and watched from afar, sympathetic but wary, as she navigated the ruins of her once stable life. Crestwood, once a comforting and familiar town, now seemed strange and full of echoes of what she had lost. While friends tried to support her, Lily felt that no one truly understood the depth of her pain, her heartbreak stretching into a bitterness she couldn't shake. Meanwhile, Sam and Emma were attempting to build a new life in a neighboring town, far from Crestwood's prying eyes. However, the excitement and allure of their secret romance had faded. What had once felt exhilarating was now tainted by the reality of their betrayal, and resentment simmered between them. Sam, racked with guilt over hurting Lily, found it hard to move forward. He could no longer ignore the truth that he had destroyed his marriage, his reputation, and his home for a fleeting thrill that no longer brought him happiness. The guilt gnawed at him, manifesting in sleepless nights and a temper that grew shorter by the day. For Emma, life with Sam was nothing like she had imagined. Without the mystery and danger of their affair, her attraction to him began to dissolve. What she once found exciting now felt suffocating. She realized too late that she'd misjudged both her feelings and Sam's devotion. She had thought she could walk away whenever she pleased, but now, living with Sam in their new town, she felt trapped. His obsession and possessiveness made her uneasy. Sam had become someone she didn't recognize, clingy, volatile, and increasingly prone to bursts of anger and desperation whenever he sensed her pulling away. Emma, who had once thrived on control and independence, was now caught in a relationship that felt like a prison. As Sam grew more unhinged, Emma tried to distance herself, making excuses to be alone or leaving the house for hours at a time. Her attempts to create space only stoked Sam's paranoia. He became convinced that she was planning to leave him, and his desperation to keep her turned into a dark fixation. Sam's thoughts grew more erratic, and his once stable demeanor gave way to unpredictable mood swings. When Emma finally suggested that they take a break, his reaction was explosive. He accused her of using him, of betraying him just as he had betrayed Lily. For the first time, Emma saw a side of Sam that terrified her, a raw desperation that bordered on madness. In an attempt to control the situation, Emma began planning her escape, trying to gather enough money to leave town without him noticing. But Sam was already suspicious, watching her every move and growing more obsessed with keeping her by his side. He started isolating her, limiting her access to friends and family, and tracking her activities. Sam's desperation turned sinister, and Emma began to realize just how deeply his obsession had rooted itself. She was no longer dealing with the charming brother-in-law she had once enticed. This man was unrecognizable, someone consumed by an unyielding need to possess her completely. The twisted romance that had once seemed thrilling now felt like a curse, a tragic bond born of betrayal and self-destruction. The promise of a new life, free from the scrutiny of Crestwood, had crumbled under the weight of Sam's guilt and Emma's regret. Their relationship was a prison, one they had built with lies and deceptions, and it seemed as if there was no way out. For Emma, the walls were closing in, her independence slipping through her fingers as Sam's dark obsession consumed every corner of her life. The freedom she once craved felt like an impossible dream, and as her plans to escape took shape, she knew that getting away from Sam might cost her more than she was prepared to pay. Emma's desperation to escape reached a breaking point. She felt suffocated in the small, bleak apartment she now shared with Sam, a place that was supposed to represent their fresh start but had become a cage. Sam's behavior had become increasingly controlling. He monitored her every move, demanded to know her whereabouts, and interrogated her whenever she was out of sight for too long. Paranoia consumed him, and any hint of independence from Emma sent him spiraling. What had once been an affair filled with thrill and excitement was now something dark and twisted, fueled by possessiveness and anger. Emma began to feel as if she had created a monster, one that refused to let her go. Emma knew her only option was to leave. Secretly, she gathered what little money she could hide without Sam noticing and started making plans to disappear. She avoided talking about her intentions, carefully playing the role of the devoted partner, waiting for the right moment to escape. But Sam, growing more suspicious each day, sensed her detachment. His distrust morphed into an obsession, a need to control her completely. He was determined to keep her by his side, convinced that if he held on tightly enough he could force her to love him again. One evening Emma seized a rare moment of opportunity. Sam had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from another day of obsessing over her actions. She grabbed a small bag she had packed with essentials, her heart pounding as she crept toward the door. She was mere steps away from freedom, her escape so close she could almost taste it. But in her haste, she accidentally knocked over a glass on the counter, the shattering sound piercing through the silence. Sam jolted awake, his gaze immediately locking onto her as she froze in fear. Realizing her intent to leave, Sam's fury exploded. He confronted her, demanding to know why she was abandoning him after all they had sacrificed. His anger turned violent as he accused her of using him, betraying him, and mocking his love. Emma tried to defend herself, to explain that their relationship was built on lies, that she wanted her life back, but her words only fueled his rage. In a blind fit of desperation and heartbreak, Sam attacked her, unable to control the depths of his obsession. Their struggle was brutal and chaotic, a whirlwind of rage, fear, and desperation that ended in unimaginable tragedy. Emma's life slipped away in the very room that had once felt like her prison. When the police arrived, the evidence painted a clear picture of the violent final moments between them. Sam was arrested, his descent into madness finally exposed to the world. The scandal shocked both Crestwood and the new town they had tried to call home. News of the tragic love triangle, betrayal, and ultimate murder spread quickly, and the public was captivated by the chilling story. Sam's obsession, which had been fueled by lust and jealousy, had led to Emma's tragic end and his own downfall. The affair, which once seemed like a thrilling escape, had turned into a nightmare that consumed them both. Lily, devastated by the news of her sister's death, struggled to find closure. She was haunted by the memories of betrayal, the echoes of her shattered marriage, and the loss of her sister to a twisted, tragic obsession. Though the wounds were deep, she attempted to move forward, rebuilding her life piece by piece in the quiet town of Crestwood. The Turner's tale became a haunting legend, a tragic reminder of how unchecked desires can spiral into darkness, destroying lives in their wake. In the end, Emma's seduction of her sister's husband had set off a chain reaction of jealousy, betrayal, and madness, leading them all down a path of no return. Crestwood would never forget the tragedy, a story passed down as a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder of the destructive power of secrets, forbidden desires, and the devastating consequences of betrayal.